and I'm so happy to be having this chat with you. It was a long time in the making getting this on the calendar, and I'm excited to share you with the Awakenpedia community, introducing you to our little family here in the larger Instagram world. Um, but welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited and honored to be here.
Yeah. So I'm sure you're familiar with how these tend to go. Maybe not, but it's largely an unguided, unscripted conversation, right? Just to keep things authentic and fresh and real, which is the whole purpose of Awakenpedia and everything we're doing. So, I like to kick things off by asking you to share a bit with us about your journey and, what you've gone through, anything you feel relevant that's being, guided by your heart to share in context of what's led you to this moment and why you do what you do. How'd you get to Hawaii? Um, so let's start with your story a bit.
Okay. Oh my goodness, my story, lots of stories. Um, how did I get here? From lots of places. I've always been super curious about um, different concepts of wellness and different ways of healing around the world, and spent um, a lot of my life from when I was pretty young. I'd say like when I was 18, I took off. I was born in Canada. And when I was 18, I took um, a year to travel the world. Remember when we used to have those around the world tickets? I don't know if they still exist. Um, and really, a lot of that trip was about learning different ways of healing around the world. And I grew up in a family that was pretty healthy, health conscious in terms of taking care of our bodies, diet, exercise, that sort of thing. And I was always curious about kind of the less tangible, or the kind of magic that comes in healing, the less spoken about. Um, and so learned a lot in my travels, and at some point went to naturopathic school and acupuncture school, because it kind of was a great way to weave together physical, spiritual, emotional, energetic um, concepts of wellness, which are all the same pretty much, right? And as I was going through that very formal, um, intense education in an institution, it made me even more curious about what wellness and health really is. And over the years, just kind of been studying through my own life experience and experience with others how people heal. And I moved to California about 15 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. And there I had a friend who was like, come do a breathwork class, come do a breathwork class. And I was like, I do breathwork. I've been practicing yoga for, many years. I don't need to do breathwork. I already meditate and have a breathwork practice. And I went to, finally I ended up going, and it just opened my heart in such a big way. Tears streaming down the face, for those of you who've experienced different forms of breath work before. You know what I'm talking about. You can't really put it into words. And after that, I was like, whoa, and just kind of dove deeper into that. Pretty soon after that, went and did my first training with my teacher, David Elliott, and have been braiding that into all of my offerings in my naturopathic, kind of more conventional practice, in retreats and in groups, just because it really honors whatever medicine is right for the person, right? It really honors the medicine within. And it's very different than a lot of the other forms of wellness that I've worked with, because we're not relying on the external, right? We're not relying on somebody else to fix or shift or change. It's just a really beautiful way to bring out who we really are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's so, you know, what I really appreciate about you, Sarah, is that you have such a beautiful spread of modalities that you incorporate into your holistic practice, from breath work to acupuncture to naturopathic medicine to retreat facilitation, you know even conscious parenting. I know that you're a mom. Like, uh, it's incredible to see how you've been able to blend all of these different forms of healing into
Mm-hmm.
one customized solution. And um, you're right. It's like, at the end of the day, right? There's one teaching, there's one healing, and all of this is just different roads, different pathways to return home, back to
Mm-hmm.
oneness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was in conversation with a friend the other day who is a chiropractor, and she was saying that it was so beautiful. It's kind of like stuck with me because I strongly believe this too. When you are in deep connection and true kind of integrity with another person or a group of people, it doesn't really matter what modalities you use, right? The healing comes with the presence, the deep and full presence, and the frequency that's the kind of like third frequency that's created, right? Like
Yeah.
person, or group, and then the energy of all of that together is really where the healing's at. And I believe that as well. And that's not to say I don't honor the tools. I think herbs and acupuncture and all sorts of other interventions can be miraculous and really important to help hold or support or guide. Um, and I really believe that it is about presence.
Yeah. Me too.
Mhm.
And we know that,
Mhm.
right? And that's why we can speak to it so concretely. It's a knowingness
Mhm.
that we've been able to directly experience. That's what I see as pointing to the fundamental shift in consciousness, like the real
Mhm.
shift.
Mhm.
Um, and what you're saying is, and I feel this too, is all you have to do is be the teaching, be present, be here
Mhm.
now, right? That's why
Mhm.
Ram Dass, all he just
Mhm.
kept saying over and over is just be here now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's it. And all of these healing modalities, whether it's acupuncture, breath work, or Reiki, or EFT, all of these things are helping us to be here now.
Mhm.
And they're using different pathways. And whether that pathway is suitable for you or not depends on your specific karma, your specific, egoic energy traps that you carry within.
Mhm.
Some are more effective and more timely than others. But at the end of the day, they're all serving the same essential function, which is to bring us home, bring us back into love.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Bring us back
Yeah.
into love. We need a t-shirt. There probably is a t-shirt.
If
Mhm.
not, we'll make one. Um, all right. So why don't we talk a bit about uh, your specific containers, if that's okay with you, like what you actually offer to the world in terms of how you package all of this stuff
Mhm.
into offerings, and what that looks like. Whether if you just talk us through, what you have, because I know you have quite a bit, and you
Mhm.
do quite a bit. So yeah, please just share with us everything you got going on.
Okay, yeah. Lots going on. I like to think of it as like lots of different branches, right, on one big solid tree. And so it really depends on who I'm working with or the context or where we are. So I do some individualized work, just basic naturopathic care, right? Sometimes that's just like somebody has a sinus infection and they want to use herbs or natural tools to help move through that. And sometimes it's working with people and guiding them on more kind of long term imbalances. And so I have a private practice here on Maui where I see people in person. And then I also see people one on one all around the world, actually, for that, just to give guidance from a kind of naturopathic medicine point of view. And that can be anything from running labs to different somatic practices, to bringing in Chinese medicine theory, acupuncture if it's in person. Um, and what really lights me up and where I'm moving a lot of my practice to is the group work. Because we talked about this Cam, when we first met, just the potency of the healing that happens in a group um, is so important, especially in this year right now, right? In Aquarius, in this movement towards more collective being. I think healing and wellness and health and spiritual evolution and growth really is magnified times like 5 million in a group place. And so I hold some online groups, weaving all of the different tools and practices together. So some of the herbal medicine and naturopathic interventions or tools, and Chinese medicine philosophy, and kind of more etheric tools like breathwork and qigong into online groups, and kind of like medicine circles, right? Um, and one of the things that I love to bring to the community here and all around the world is retreats. And so I usually hold 3 or 4 retreats a year. And often, again, they weave in all the different modalities. Um, and then I'm also excited to be starting teacher trainings for breathwork facilitators. So healer trainings to help support people who fall in love with the breathwork and want to offer it. Because I feel like the more people offering breathwork, the more the world is able to come back to their hearts and live from that place of being and love. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love listening to you speak about this. It's, it's, you carry such a lightness and a vibrancy, and you speak from such direct authenticity. And, it's there's no agenda other than being and facilitating being and helping others to be and realize their own being. And so we all just be together.
Let's
That's what it
all just be together. That's another t-shirt.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, really, and I think um, that's it. A little bit of it is teaching and holding containers. And a big part of it is the collaborative work, really inspiring people to remember how much wisdom, how much light and love is within them. And it sounds so cliche, and it's so, I really believe that that's the route, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's people have a hard time believing that it's true because it's actually so simple, and that, all it is being here now.
Mhm.
And that's it. Presence, and that awareness. Um, so can you talk a bit about just breath work, since you brought that up? I actually wanted to ask specifically if you can elaborate on your specific nature of breath work, what you like to focus on, how you facilitate it, because I know there's a lot of sub
Mhm.
branches within breath work,
Mhm.
larger
Yes,
categories. So
yes.
yeah, like
Mhm.
how do you facilitate it, and what are you actually teaching
Mhm.
in terms of your teacher training?
Mhm. Okay. Thank you for asking. So the kind of lineage or the type of breath work that I teach is through my teacher, David Elliott. I know there's some people in the community that have studied with him as well. And it's a 3-part breath work, in and out through the mouth. So similar to holotropic breath work, Wim Hof-ish. Again, I believe these are beautiful tools, and the kind of essence or the underlayer of all of it is it brings us to a similar place, right? So it's a breath that's in and out through the mouth to help us move from the mind into that heart space, and to help us access all of the layers of who we are, all of the layers of consciousness. Um, so I hold circles, and groups from a very curious and open place, right? A big teaching that David teaches and that I try to transmit through my teachings as well is staying in a place of wonder and curiosity and staying open to whatever wants to come through me, through spirit, and whatever wants to come through for the group, whatever wants to come through each individual. So really coming in without an agenda, without a plan necessarily, or without expectation, which is hard, right? Because I want people to heal and I want people to have their hearts blasted open and go play with their ancestors in the cosmos, you know? And so part of the teachings in the teacher training is, again, working with all of our wounding and our programs and our patterns, and coming back to that place of self-love, and remembering and amplifying our gifts, right? Because we all have so much medicine within us. We all have gifts. We all have different ways of connecting with spirit, connecting with our higher selves. And so really kind of holding space in as much of a curious, playful, and wondrous place is, I guess, a big part of the teachings and the philosophies.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for sharing and elaborating on that. I think it's important to know because a lot of these umbrella blanket statement general modalities,
Mhm,
there's so much more in depth. They can become so intricate,
mhm,
and there's so many different sub branches in
mhm,
terms of ways to facilitate. So
mhm,
it's important because it's also an expression of your own unique energetic signature in terms of
mhm,
how you have a relationship with the breath yourself and how you speak
mhm,
that in terms of how
mhm,
you teach others and
mhm,
help others heal themselves.
mhm,
And I personally just have an affinity for the breath as well because um, it was such a transformational agent in my own journey. And
mhm,
it's the breath in Latin is spiritus. It's the spirit,
mhm,
and so it's literally the manifestation of the Holy Spirit, of
mhm,
God, of the higher self,
mhm,
that
mhm,
innate divine intelligence that just is coursing through you.
mhm,
And as long as you remain aware of it, you're in that state of remembrance
mhm,
to
mhm,
be connected with the loving
mhm,
awareness that you are. So whenever you're remembering your breath, there is no problems.
mhm.
It's just peace.
Mhm,
Um, so I think the breath is so fundamental.
mhm. Yeah, and it's embodied, which is what I love about it too, right? Because there's so many different spiritual practices where we go into the stars, right? We kind of leave the body, which I wonder about, right? Is that true spiritual practice? Like, and what I love about the breath is we are embodying the stars, we are embodying the earth, and we're welcoming all of the different sensations, emotions, parts, programs of our being in the body, and giving space and permission to see that, feel it, hear it, honor it.
Yep, such a good point.
Mhm,
So important because the breath is here and now. It is rooted
mhm,
in the now, right? And it's not putting you back into the mind. It's not projecting you out into
mhm,
time or putting you somewhere back in disguised delusion. It is the closest thing to absolute reality that we can probably taste as a human being. Um,
mhm,
and and it's right here. It's always accessible.
mhm,
We're always breathing. The question is, are you aware of it or not? The more you're aware of the breathing that you breathe, the more peaceful you are, and that's the essence of spirituality. Just connecting with that.
mhm.
Yeah. Um,
Uh,
yeah. Go ahead.
Another piece that's coming through is, and David, my teacher, is big on this as well. So this is another piece that I often bring into the teacher training, my all of my teachings and my groups, just really honoring, trusting, connecting, and reciprocating with our non-human family. So the earth, the plants, the stars, and remembering that all of those things are in us as well. And so a big joy for me and a big practice and teaching is being in right exchange with the plants, the animals, the earth. And breath is just that, right? It is that exchange with the trees, with all of the hearts and the breath in the room, with the birds outside. So that's another really important piece.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nature, just coming closer to what is truly natural, unaltered. Yeah, it's beautiful. Um, one thing I wanted to just speak to, or have you speak to, if you're okay with it, is just a bit more on your own personal journey. If you'd be willing to share a bit more about, um, how, like, and I'm not presuming everyone has a story of overcoming adversity, but more often than not in this world, people come into healing and, alternative healing through their own experience, right? And what how they use those methods to alleviate their own suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you'd be willing to just talk a minute or two about your own journey, to the extent that you feel comfortable, just sharing about how you've transformed yourself and how you speak from direct experience on behalf of that transformation.
Okay. Still transforming
Yeah.
in process forever, probably. Okay. Well, a big piece, and I will share this because this is what's coming through now. Um, and I think it is a big part of what shaped me and brought in my curiosity and my eagerness to share this work, especially the breath work, with the world. I was born a twin, and so I had a twin brother who died when we were kids. And so a lot of my work um, in all sorts of different modalities has been to heal the grief in my family around that, the pieces of me that were a little fuzzy or foggy around that. And because he left his body at such a young age, I feel like I've had this really strong connection with the less tangible, right? Or with spirit from a very young age, because twin energy, super strong, right? And so I've always kind of felt his presence and communicated with him from a very young age. And so I think that sparked a lot of the curiosity and the eagerness to share that there's so much more beyond these vessels, right? Beyond this kind of like one way of being. And breathwork for me has been a super potent way of connecting with all of the parts of me that maybe have been exiled or forgotten, and connect with him and his spirit. And a lot of the work that I've done with others has been kind of holding containers for those who have lost siblings or children or partners, or who are experiencing grief, in finding the teachings and the gifts in that.
Mm,
So
yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like one thread. Another thread, when I was traveling that year as a teenager, I got pretty sick, as most of us do, and we're traveling in different countries and drinking different water and eating different food, and worked with an herbalist who kind of, I had been on IV and all kinds of like conventional medicine to try to figure out what was going on. And and worked with an herbalist kind of naturopath who really helped me kind of come back and heal. And so that was another inspiration. That was probably one of the biggest inspirations for going to naturopathic school. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's amazing how hardship and adversity and struggles, which you may otherwise view objectively as bad, right, when you're living within
Mm-hmm.
polarity,
Mm-hmm.
turn out to be the things that are most cherished in your life and that provide the most um, fuel,
Mm-hmm.
for your transformation. And
Right. And our gifts and teachers, right? And the beauty of the breath. And again, I keep coming back to the breath because I just feel it's such a powerful tool that we all have access to all the time, right? But the beauty of it is also this like timelessness of it. And as we know, like healing is not linear, and the breath kind of gives us access to our lineage behind, in front, and all around, right? And I find like in my own experience, as over the years of practicing breath, it has helped shift, honor, heal from my lineage, and I'll see shifts in my relationship with my kids now. And so it's just a testament to how powerful the work we do inside ripples.
yeah, so true. And I love how you said that the timelessness of the breath. Uh, it it really points to the true nature of reality in terms of its eternal nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
Beyond time. That's what the breath is evidence of. It just is, and it it bridges that eternal, timeless realm with this horizontal dimension
With this
of
horizontal mentioned, beautifully said, yes, totally, right? And like just even the concept of like our DNA, and we know we hold things in our DNA from at least 14 generations back, probably 100 generations back, and how we can shift that with a thought, with the breath, with a recalibration or a retuning of the body is super amazing, right? And then how we can carry that through and forward to those that come after us.
yeah. Yeah, the breath. I mean, it's like I see it as one of the most fundamental ingredients and catalyzing agents of epigenetics and how we
Mm-hmm.
can actually, heal ourselves in tandem with intentional
Mm-hmm.
thinking and using our minds. But it's all connected. So that's where it's like the work that you're doing, your services, your focus on breath work, how you are facilitating your breathwork sessions, and your philosophy, the energy, the quality of the energy that's going into it. It's just so important. It really is. It matters that much to have that caliber of consciousness going into these breathwork sessions, because what you put in is what you get out when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just really honored to have you here with us, Sarah, to have you a part of this community, to have someone as developed, professionalized, and also just soft and in tune as yourself to help us transform the world, um, one now at a time. It's
Mm-hmm. Another t-shirt.
yeah,
Thank you. It's such a
yeah,
it's an honor to be here and to be part of this community. I'm excited to share more and learn more and collaborate. And yeah, I think that that's a big piece too. I spoke to a little bit, but just the collaboration, right? Like when I facilitate a retreat or a breathwork group, it's not about me, right? And it's not about one person, or it's not about each individual. It's about the collective healing that happens in the space.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's what I see Awakenpedia standing for as well, which is this. era of mutual
Mhm.
benefit, of absolute cooperation rather than competition. When you're
Mhm.
connected to infinite abundance, there is no possibility of loss
Mhm.
or of
Mhm.
gain. There just is, and
Mhm.
it's completely full as it is.
Mhm.
And we're all just tapping into that and sharing that collectively and helping others to realize what they already have because they already are it. So um, I'm with you, you know, in terms of just making this about the collective and about supporting each other in our
Mhm.
individual journeys, but also as one on this larger pilgrimage.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's really beautiful, and thank you for being here and being a part of it, and trusting Awakenpedia as well as just the energy of this community
Mhm.
to be of service.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I think that that is so, it's key, right? It's how we're meant to live together, sharing, collaborating, reciprocating, you know. I really believe that so strongly in my bones.
Mm. Yeah,
So
me
thank
too.
you.
Thank you. And sometimes, you know, we forget, we get drawn back into survival mode, but the essence and key is to come back into our creation state and to just to be of love and to share that with each other. And, you know, when we forget, we think we're separate. When we remember, we know we're one. Um,
Another t-shirt.
I hope that this is recorded, so we'll have all the T-shirt ideas. We'll give them out in a little while.
Side biz.
Yeah. Um, okay. Well, I want to wrap this up, but I like to do it by asking you to share any guidance, insight, anything at all that you feel you'd like to impart on the world in terms of anything that you feel is coming up. You know, maybe something that could have helped you earlier on your journey, something that you feel like is just a really important piece of this puzzle to remember.
um, a couple things are coming through. I think trusting your heart, trusting your gifts, and trusting how deeply held each of us are by the seen and unseen. And then another big piece is surrendering. I had a dream probably a month ago, and it stuck with me so strongly. I was on a boat and I jumped into the water. There was dolphins swimming in the water. I have a big connection with dolphins. My daughter's name means dolphin, but I jumped in the water. The water was, which has happened in this life many times, but the water was crazy, like Titanic storm, crazy, and I jumped in with such ease, trust, and surrender. And it was like the sensation of the dream is what I'm trying to get across here. That complete surrender, and it was the most beautiful sensation. And I have been intentionally kind of bringing that into my day to day and into the mundane when I forget to fully trust and surrender, because it's so much bigger than us, than these minds of ours, right? Like, so yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Such an important point as well. Surrender, in
Mhm.
particular, the pathway to presence is through surrender, and
Mhm.
it's the pathway to being. It's the pathway to everything, everything. This entire thing. Surrender, letting go of your own will
Mhm.
by connecting with the true will, the one will,
Mhm.
and knowing that you're supported, right? That you're completely protected in that sense. So that fear can dissolve. Fear doesn't have, you don't have to be attached and identified with the fearful state, because you know that there's love is all that exists,
Mhm.
and that's that's what we're really surrendering into. We're surrendering into love.
Yeah, into the flow.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, Sarah. Well, thank you so much for this time. And for everyone who tuned in, really appreciate it. You guys can learn more about Sarah and her bio, background, direct booking links, discounts, all of that good stuff in our member form. And Sarah will be in and around all of the stuff we got going on, which I'm very excited to see unfold.
Mhm.
We got a lot of cool stuff happening. So virtual retreats, on-site retreats at some point, lots of events. It'll be fun.
Thank you so much, Cam. Honor to be a part of this. Thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you all for coming to listen. Mhm.
Okay. Talk to you
Mhm.
soon.
Have a beautiful day.
Bye.
Bye.